Hi, it's Nancy welcoming you to Gardens Grow. I put my new little yellow mum in a pot and set it up on a plant stand, and I'm hoping that these two will play off of each other. This is Caryopteris, and it blooms in the late summer and fall too. It has these little blue tufts on it, and I had one once before and I couldn't find another at the time that I went ahead and filled it up with other things. So this is a smaller one, which may be much better for me since I don't have a lot of room in the garden anymore, but I'm hoping that it will fill out a little bit more and just come up to where it really sets this off, and hopefully those two colors will play off each other and look great in years to come. Fall has become my favorite time in the garden because I usually have a little bit of time to just sit back and enjoy. Not nearly enough, but some. But lately I've been wondering not wondering, but just realizing that there is so much dead stuff and old dried ratty looking stuff in the garden. I've been knowing that I need to clear some of it out. And I think it would just look so much better if I would do that. But then again, it's been so hot still that it's not a good time to be transplanting things or planting things. So I'm still kind of waiting for that opportune time. And fall, you never know. I used to think fall was just the ushering in of winter, and I wasn't really that fond of fall for that reason. But now I absolutely love gardening. Has taught me to love fall because it's the only time I get a chance to actually have some pretty weather in the mornings and the evenings at least, so to actually get to enjoy the garden some. And then of course I love winter because now I can rest some. This does get so tiring, even though I do love it. It is very, very tiring. I don't love the tiring hard parts of it. I just love the way it feels when you get it done and there's beauty all around you. That's the part I love, being a part of nature. And I feel a part of God's plan. And I think this little arrangement just looks so much fuller and prettier with these little sedum stems put in there, and they may make me a root and be ready to go for next season. I hope they will do that. I do definitely still need to fill out this bottom part of it a little. You can tell I've tried several times, but it's going to need some more help. It's just been too hot for them to get started. Even though today is September the 27th, we've not had we might have had one or two cool days that lasted all day long, but most usually we just have cooler mornings and cooler evenings with still 90 degrees in between. These little sedum aren't showing off so much in this pot, but if they will make a root, they will show off for next year. It's looking pretty good right here. And this pretty little blue daisy is looking good this morning. I've got most of my house plants in. I'm going to take this one in too, but right now I just newly replaced putting it in. I had it in one pot and I replaced it with this pot to take inside because it is the clay pot that I'm hoping it will live in. This is another one that I can't seem to get to live for me for anything. And I know I've seen them in people's homes, just big and beautiful and healthy, but I'm having a problem with that. But right now I'm just going to leave it here for a while and let it get its roots in good, and then I will take it inside. And this little decorative watering can, my niece Cassie painted that for me before she died, so it's it was cherished even when she was alive, and it's definitely cherished now. Of course, this is another little plant that I'm letting it get its roots down good, and it is, I can tell, because it's perked up quite a bit since I put it in there, so hopefully it'll be ready to take in soon. I've been gathering seeds this morning, so they needed to be taken off because, you know, some of them are looking so ratty and some of them have lost their color, but these will make great seeds, and hopefully they'll also make my other plants perk up a little bit and put on some new ones if we have time. And right now I'm fixing to go get some of the white globeflower and some of the pale mauve pink globeflower. So right now these are my globeflower, and I've read that if you cut these off they will also put on some more. This poor little thing is looking so ratty. I don't know, it may be a little late for putting on some more, but we'll see. And even if it is, I still want these pretty little white globeflowers for next year. And these are where I have my pretty pink ones, which as you can tell are no longer pretty pale mauve pink, but we'll see if they'll come back. And I definitely want these for next year. Earlier I laid out some of these yellow marigold seeds to dry, and here they are in real life. Aren't they pretty? I wish I could show you how God painted this, and I can't get a good picture of it, but it's pink, but it has a flaming orange tip on it, and sometimes you can just see it look like it's almost in flame waving in the wind. So pretty. Now these, oh my, these things put on so many seeds, it's just ridiculous, and they come up everywhere, so I'll want to chop some of these down before, well, it's too late to be before they put any seed down, but I always do want a few, so it's kind of hard to tell how many to leave. But anyway, and look how much fresher the zinnias look after I clip the old dead ones off. I'm also clipping off some seed of the pretty orange marigolds. I don't know if I will take this little pot inside or not. I've never really tried to save a Dusty Miller inside, and lots of times they actually come back through after spending the winter outside, but not always. But I hate to lose all this pretty wandering Jew that's all around it there. So I'll see how much room I have in the house and if I can bring it in. So yesterday last evening, and this evening I worked in the garden trimming, giving it a much needed trim. So anyway, that's going to be it for now, and I'm going to go ahead and start watering. But I just wanted to show you all this debris that we've taken out of the garden. It's just a tremendous amount of debris. If my husband get off of me and get over into the debris. Thank you, sir. And anyways, that's how much I got out, and I'll try to get around. It won't be today, but maybe tomorrow, and give you a little tour of the garden where you and see if you can even tell where I took any out. But I definitely can tell. It does look much better in the garden. One of the next things I'll want to do is to dig up my elephant ears and my caladiums. But I want to remember this because I like this better than I really thought I would, because it brings your attention upwards so that you see the top of the fountain and things that you sometimes don't really notice, or I don't, because there's just, you're looking at the flowers in front of it. But this one brings your eye right up to the fountain, and it's just pretty. I like that. Of course, not the way they are right now, but that's, what summer does to the garden. I also liked, I knew this would be pretty with something, but I couldn't really figure out what, and the zinnias didn't really bloom until later on at the end of summer. But these two little plants together look good to me. If I could get them growing. This was a little taller, and these are kind of looking like they were growing right in with it. I think that pretty yellow would just bring out the pretty little trim of the ruffled leaf in this coleus. I think they would really be pretty together. And several bare spots have been left in the garden. And even this is not really bare with this little tall verbena growing up in it. But it's kind of bare at the bottom. So I think I might put a coleus there. And this coming week, we're supposed to have temperatures in the 70s. So that will be great for transplanting coleus and this little Plectranthus plant, which is a cousin to the coleus. But I will want to put some of these into some of my bare spots in the pots, and hopefully make some pretty pots. And like I was saying, this next week may be a great time to do that. It's kind of hard to find a good time to do that, though, because at least in Oklahoma it is, because lots of times it goes from, well, actually we already have missed the 80s. It's been 90 in the 90s, so from 90 to 70, and I hope it stays 70 for a good long while in the 70s. That would be great. That would be perfect. But if we only have just a few days in the 70s before we go to the 40s, then it really wouldn't be worth all the work it takes to do all that transplanting. But I'll probably, if I have an opportunity, will give it a try. But coleus is definitely my favorite go-to plant for filling in a bare spot, because they do go ahead and build a root. You can just clip off a little piece of it and put it in rooting powder and put it in the ground. Some people say it doesn't even need the rooting powder, so you may not want to even put that on there. But I usually do, I feel like it gives it a little better chance. So, but I have several that I definitely that are big enough to go ahead and move. So I'll want to do that. And also, it won't be that long now, because definitely before those 40-degree temperatures, I want to get some of these in little glasses in the window to save for next year. Several of the coleuses I would like to do that with. But again, I will miss the caladiums and the elephant ears in the garden. This one is still looking great. But as much as I will miss them in the garden, I will also be glad to have the jobs finished instead of needing to be done. And while I loved this little arrangement in this little strawberry pot, it didn't do as well as I thought it would do. I'm a little bit surprised. Maybe it should just been all this pretty strawberry drop coleus. But I don't know. I do love this color, the color match, but it's hard to know what a plant will do when you try it. You just have to try it and see. But I'm still satisfied with this, although I think I could probably do better. This little peony is not looking bad, but I will still want to trim it down, I think. And I know there are others that are really looking terrible that I do need to. And I would also like to get all of my irises trimmed down so that they'll be ready to go in the spring when it's time for them to show up. So this is one of the areas where I did a bunch of cleaning, and as you can tell, this is one of the peonies that need to be trimmed completely down too, so it can be ready for next spring. But I did trim out a bunch of the old dahlias that had just dropped over or gotten heavy and fallen off of their main stem. And I do need to go ahead as soon as we have our rain where the ground is soft. I want to get out here and dig the dahlias up because they're spent. Even the pretty ones are looking spent. So their time is about up for this season, and we want to get them squared away so they'll be ready to go again next season. And then of course there was a lot of the dead stalks of the blue cardinal plant that it looked great when it was a pretty blue cardinal plant, but when the whole plant, actually not just the bloom but the whole plant, had gone. Look at this pretty cosmos this morning though, it's shining. So that's one good thing, even though there's always things that need to be trimmed out of the garden. It's true, there's just no end to that trimming, and it's what I hate worse in the spring when we have to get all this mess out to start over again. It is such a tremendous chore, but then all the rest of the season that same chore comes along. But I did get a lot of this out, and it does look better. And this is another area where I trimmed a bunch of the old dead cardinal flower away from it. And then this was my toad lily, which normally it does great in the fall, but our fall just started off with 90-degree temperatures and it just fizzled out. So it was dead and looking terrible, and I took that out. There's a lot of things that just normally look great in the fall, and they didn't this year, and I don't really know why that is, because we've actually had the most rain and the most cool weather, even though heaven knows we've had plenty of hot weather too. But there's just no way it's not a great, almost if not miracle, for us to have cool weather even for a few days in July and August. And as I'm looking around showing it to you, there's still much more that needs to be trimmed out than that I got trimmed out. But you could not even hardly see this little decor, and now you can. The bee balm or monarda was all around it, and it had gone away, and it was just dead stalks with a little seed head on top. So I got those up. There's still plenty of it from the root that will come back next spring. But what seemed like a lot when I was doing it is seeming like not so much as I'm looking at it this morning. But it doesn't stop me from being happy that it's done. It just does look so much better. Just being able to see places in the garden where there's not just old, dead, dried up debris everywhere. And some of that is just going to be for fall, because you know that fall is just like that, where things are going to seed and going away for the season. And some of that's even pretty, I think, when you just see a dead stalk or a pretty seed head, or just one that's turned the pretty yellow colors. Those are always nice in the fall garden. But I must say, it is nice to get some of it out so that it's not all just dead, dying brown debris in the garden. And before long, the mums will all be showing up their pretty colors. If I can keep the cucumber beetles away from them, which I'm hoping to do. I've sprayed once, and I'll probably have to spray a couple of more times, but hopefully we'll keep those away from the chrysanthemums this year and be able to enjoy all that pretty fall color. I still love a chrysanthemum. I still don't think they can be beat for fall, and yet I do know there's lots of other pretty fall plants too. I wouldn't want to leave out a chrysanthemum. So many different colors, so many different varieties, and they're just wonderful. Look again at this little mum, this little pot of mums that had no root whatsoever. I just clipped the greenery off the tops and put it in here, and it is looking great. It's looking like it's got its own little root and just going really great. There's a few little bits of it that didn't make it, but so few, and it even has buds, so I think we'll actually get a bloom off of this little container of mums this season, hopefully. I still want to redo this pot right here. You can see I actually have duct tape on it holding it together, but I did not want to try to change it out when the heat was so strong on it. It would not have been a good idea. So hopefully this coming week will give me a chance to do some of that stuff where it needs to be cooler weather to do, and I'm hoping I get a lot of that done. This is some of that pretty pale pink mauve globe flower that I was saving seeds from. And then of course this is the probably more common purple globe flower, which I love it too. I did also clear out some away from this, or I tied up this little Insomnia or Arkansas star flower, and it will turn a beautiful golden or lemony yellow for the fall. And then the mums will soon be blooming there around it. I didn't go ahead and trim down the stalks of the lilies because they're still pretty and green. And then I did go ahead and weave the major wheel or honeysuckle a little bit more through the top of this umbrella clothesline that I'm using for a trellis. And actually this is looking better too. It just was laid down everywhere and laid over and just not looking good. And I can tell I should have probably trimmed my chrysanthemum a little more. There's some in the back there that have the back of the chrysanthemum there that have reached way up, probably too tall, but it's too late now to cut them off because I would just cut off the bloom. So I'm going to leave that, and who knows, it may actually add to the beauty of it a little later on when it begins to bloom. I trimmed away this, and I was going to show you this tree. I can't remember for sure what tree this is, but it is in the willow family, which I didn't even know when I got it. But it was supposedly a small tree. I can't remember if it said 8 or 10 foot tall, but my goodness, this year I did trim off some of the bottom branches too, so that you can kind of see the little birdhouse, and it just looks neater. But this tree has took on a growth. I mean, it just really reached up to the sky this year. Just this late part of the season too that it did that. So, but it is pretty, and it's got that open air look through it too, so you can kind of see through it, so it doesn't just totally block out everything. And I may just leave that like that. I probably will, actually. I don't want to risk destroying the tree. And I left these little rose canes and they're just hanging out everywhere, and I'm going to try to weave them in up this trellis a little bit better. And if we don't have another late freeze or early spring freeze, this little rose, this is a oh my goodness, now I can't think of the name of it, knockout. This is a red knockout rose, and it may have a good chance of just really filling out next spring. There, it looks better already. And I know some people say, well, it's fall, it's going to die anyway, frost is coming, why not just forget it all and let it die? But as the gardener, most of us have not had a chance to enjoy our gardens. And now that the weather is soon to be, it's not here yet, I have sweat dripping down me right now, but it's soon to be pretty enough we can enjoy them. So that is why we want to prolong them. If we could have even 2 weeks, which I want more, of course, I want as much as we can get out of it, but even 2 weeks is so much more than we've had so far to just really enjoy the garden. Please be sure to like and to subscribe to the channel.